Hello, what is up, everybody? Good to see you guys. Welcome. Hope you're having a good day. And yeah, very excited on, what is it, Tuesday? I don't know what day it is. Tuesday. It's Tuesday. All right. Hope you guys had a good holiday weekend. And yeah, getting after it. Gonna be able to preach on New Year's Day, which I'm very excited for. I like preaching New Year's specific sermons. I think the Bible has a lot to say about new beginnings. And so, I don't know. It's an encouraging thing for me. I enjoy it. So, that's what we're going to focus on. And yeah, that's the idea. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm sorry I didn't stream yesterday. Had family in town and just trying to work through all that stuff. Ooh, it'll be 2023. Nice. So, you know, that I was busy, but I'm here now. I've got a good amount of time here towards the year's end, so I'm gonna be working on classes, maybe streaming a little bit more this week. Don't know, we'll see, but that's gonna be one of the goals. So very excited. Yeah, and I hope you guys are doing very well. I got some tea, been drinking some raw pu'er the last couple of days. It's very nice. And when I finish this cup, I already have a cup brewing that's been going for over 10-15 minutes. So looking forward to it. So New Year's sermon, focusing on the topic of new beginnings. Let me drop the music, sorry. Focus on the topic of new beginnings and, you know, just all of those things we kind of wrestle with in terms of trying to turn over a new leaf. I want to talk about New Year's resolutions briefly. Maybe I'll do that in the intro. You know, and there are two schools of thought, right? A lot of people attack New Year's resolutions because why should I wait until the start of a new year to do something? Okay, there's truth to that. But there is also the element of I'm a human being and his mercies are new every morning. Well, why does that verse resonate if I don't have to wait till the morning for his mercies to be new, right? Well, we're grounded in time. We go through seasons throughout the year, and that's just how human beings are built. That's the world in which we live. So it's something that we just need to recognize and lean into, I think. So I'm just going to call it new beginnings for now. Don't know if that's what it's going to finally be called. And we got to find our verse that we want to go for. See what we want to preach out of. Oop. Okay. I messed up on the Canvas document. That's all that flash was. New beginnings. Cool. I think I spelled beginning wrong. Oh well. They're my notes. I can spell words wrong on my own notes if I want. What's up, Cavell? Good to see you. How are you? Welcome. Hey, so you're going topical before you go back into Hebrews? Yes. I'll preach one more topical sermon just on the topic of the new year. So, and then we'll be jumping back into Hebrews after that. But the problem is I also have I have two guest speakers in January. I have one of our missionaries coming in, Josh Pinnell, to come preach. So I think that will be after my New Year's sermon. I think he's coming in the 8th. And then I will preach a Hebrews sermon, but then I'm going to have one of my members also preach another sermon. I don't know if you caught Paul's sermon on the channel. So anyway, I got a lot of help here in January, which is good, but it's going to be fits and starts before we're really back into Hebrews hot and heavy. So yeah, very interesting. I didn't think of that until you just said that, but yeah, I'm getting a lot of help here as I'm trying to finish my degree. I have a lot of people who have jumped in and they're willing to try and support me, which is awesome. It's so nice to have a congregation who loves their pastor and they're trying to support me and help me to finish things off. So really, really cool. Yeah, good to see you, Cavell. How was your Christmas? Hope you had a good Christmas. Good holiday season. All right. So let's go ahead and find our passage. I think just popping off in the fact book is always good for something like this. And we'll just type in New Year's and see where we go. New Year, festival or concept, New Year's Day. Both of these are good. Let's try each of them. And I'm looking for this key passages section. There's a time in a season. See, this is great. This is a great passage. I've already preached through Ecclesiastes 3:1-8, but preaching it in the context of setting your mindset up for the new year, that's pretty cool. Or the new creation in Christ, the newness aspect. All right, these are great passages already. James 4:13-17. Come now, you who say today or tomorrow we will go to and do such and such town, spend a year there and trade and make profit, yet you do not know what tomorrow will bring. What is your life? This is nice. You are a mist that appears for a little time and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if the Lord wills, we will live and do this or that. As it is, you boast in your arrogance. All boasting is evil. Whoever knows the right thing to do and fails to do it for him, it is sin. Oh, that's a really powerful passage. Especially to preach it on the new year. To basically tell people, like, what are you waiting for? Okay, it's the new year now. All the obstacles are out of the way. Do the right thing. That could be a good challenging sermon. I want to grab the notes for all of these, really, because they're all potential. Just do some cross references here. And these would all be great primary texts to preach out of. Little hesitant on Ecclesiastes because I have preached that same passage, but it's been years, so people might like me returning to something like that. And then when I preached it, I didn't actually preach on a New Year's type concept. You know what I mean? So it might be worthwhile. Need to think about it. Let's try New Year and see what the Bible has to say. Okay, a couple different passages, Exodus and Nehemiah instead. This month shall be for you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year for you. Okay, basic. Ezekiel 40 verse 1. In the 25th year of our exile, at the beginning of the year, on the 10th day of the month, 14th year, struck down. No. Nehemiah, the words of Nehemiah to the son of Hakaliah. Now it happened in the month of Kislev, the 20th year. I was in Susa in the citadel, in the month of Nisan, in the 20th year of King Artaxerxes. No, these are too historical. I could preach them, they'd be fine, but they're certainly not as powerful as the New Year's Day preaching theme that we caught. Let's also try the concept. Do we get the same verses? Yeah, this is more like technical. So I like this as a preaching thing. That's pretty cool. A day set aside to celebrate the coming new year. Cal Magic, hello, good to see you. Cal Magic, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off. I had family in town, so that's why I didn't stream last night. Good to see you this evening, though. I hope you're doing well. Did you have a good holidays? Hope you did. Cavell, possibly 1 Thessalonians 4:3 about the will of God for your life in the new year. Let's check it out. For this is the will of God, your sanctification, that you abstain from sexual immorality, that each of you knows how to control. Yeah, that's really good. Oh. Oh. I spilled some water, so I was trying to pick that up, and then I smashed my face in the boom arm. What am I doing, guys? I'm clearly out of practice. Let's move that somewhere where I can't kick it. Yeah, this would be good because it's focused on sanctification, holiness, growth. You know, all that type of stuff that a lot of people commit themselves to at the beginning of the year. So I like that one as well. Very nice. Thanks for the recommendation, Cavell. And at very least, you know, some of these, one of the nice things about sourcing verses is it's so helpful to people to drop additional verses into a sermon to further shore up the concept you're preaching on. People like to see how all of the Bible speaks to a specific area of life. So that's good stuff. Cal Magic, how about a sermon talking about God's calendar versus our present day calendar? Ooh, that would be very, very interesting. That would be taking it a completely different direction. Let's check out the fact book and see if we have something surrounding a calendar as a concept. This verse, no. See, this would be a decent idea for a calendar type one. For 6 years you shall sow your land and gather in its yield, but the 7th year you shall let it rest and lie fallow, that poor of your people may eat. Ooh, this is a good one. Mark 13:35. Therefore stay awake, for you do not know when the master of the house will come, in the evening or at midnight, or when the rooster crows, or in the morning. That's pretty good. Nice little cross reference. Yeah, I think if I were to... preach on this, I'd want either this Esther or this Exodus verse. That'd be taking a completely different direction, which would be good. Can be really nice to mix it up for people. Now, Cal Magic says an approach would be Genesis 1:14 coupled with Leviticus 23. Let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens. Yeah. Signs for seasons, for days, and for years. That would be helpful out of Genesis 1:14. Okay. And is there a specific section in Leviticus 23 that you're thinking of, Cal Magic? Man, even just the first two verses would be perfect. My appointed feasts. Man, this is quite intriguing. So much to preach in so little time. So much to preach in so little time. Well, we have two definite paths we could go down. There's no doubt about that. Not really sure. Need more tea. Cal Magic, the feasts are established according to the seasons established by cosmology God created. No doubt. Yeah. And it's an important aspect. You know, a lot of people, they get squeamish. A lot of Christians get squeamish around astrology or things like that, but it's God who made the stars. And I've preached that point before and got a lot of good feedback. People like hearing that idea and focusing on that idea that, you know, God made the stars, God made the heavens. It's all God's. And just because somebody else says something about it doesn't mean that it doesn't apply necessarily to God or his people. So it's an important theme. What's up, Tin Man? Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Okay, now if I sit back and I think, what do my people most need to be encouraged with as we head into the new year? I think there's a lot of general negativity, pessimism out there these days surrounding society, culture, etc. So I want to kind of counteract pessimism. Just look at like encourage a can-do attitude. Just general points of application I would like to make. What's up, Ruination? How are you? Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Yeah. So these are the sorts of ideas I want, and this might help me decide the direction I want to go with the actual text itself. Getting another cup. This thing is going to be powerful. It's been steeping for a long time. Cal Magic and Genesis reference, check out Season, which has a sense of religious assembly, appointed time, tent of meeting. Season. Yeah, that'd be definitely a very relevant word when we're talking about this topic for sure. All right. Let's go ahead and put that down. Important words. Ooh, I wonder if... What about types of revolutions or resolutions? What are the types of resolutions that people make? Health goals are common. Often Bible reading plans. And the health usually has diet plus exercise. Two kind of forms of health goals. Bible reading plans. And those are most of them, right? Like, people will stop eating sugar or...
Your life is not in your hands. Your life is in the hands of God.
What is up, Lion Exchange? Yes.
Lion Exchange just resubbed for 2 months.
Thank you so much, Lion Exchange. Much love to you. Thank you, thank you. Appreciate that resub. Hello, Pastor Channer. Merry Christmas soon, and soon a Happy New Year. Amen. Merry Christmas to you. Happy New Year soon to you as well. Appreciate all your love and support. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah. How were your holidays? Hope you had some good holidays, etc. Financial goals and savings. That's right, Cavelli. Absolutely. Perfect. Cal Magic, resolutions are work-based self-help improvements. Nice. Yeah, these are perfect things, and we can get to the spiritual significance of these as well. Cal Magic says, I would bring in how our calendars are based on pagan beliefs and is a corruption of God's calendar, and how the Essenes had a calendar more aligned with God's intent than even the Jewish calendar with their adjustments. Yeah, here's the thing, Cal Magic, this would probably be a really cool sermon, but it's getting into territory that I'm not as well studied in as you are. You know what I mean? This sounds like a really cool topic, and I do actually want to ask you, what are your recommended resources on this? I've heard of the Essenes before, but I know only a little bit about them. And scholars think that they're the community that the Dead Sea Scrolls are associated with. No? Yeah, I'd be curious about that. But whatever resource you have that you could point me in the direction of, I'd be interested in. But don't get me wrong, I like digging into new topics and themes, and I can see that this would be a really cool sermon, but it's so out of my element. You know, I would have to do a decent amount of study to get caught up. And that might be worth it for sure. Especially if you got the right book and you know where to look, oftentimes a single chapter can inspire an entire sermon. or even a sermon series. So pretty helpful. Okay. So yeah, I think these are good ideas. I kind of want to go with James. 2 Corinthians 5:17 is fun, but James really hits the mark. At least as a primary text. We're going to definitely use a bunch of these as cross-references. Dropping some more verses in the middle of the sermon, right? Like Ecclesiastes 3:1-8 is going to be great as a cross-reference. Just letting people know it's appropriate to focus on different things at different times. Cal Magic, I have a PDF that is general, not too technical, relating to astrophysics, no math, that it lays it out. Can I send it to the church's email address? Yeah, that'd be great. You could also send it to me on Discord, if that's easier. But yeah, either of those should work. Awesome. Cool. Thank you, Cal Magic. What's up, Rosby? How you doing? Epiphones. Did I spell that right? Were you trying to spell Epiphones? Because if you were, you nailed it. That looks right to me. I don't know, Rosby. It's a challenging word, no doubt. Okay, let's roll with James. Let's roll with James as our primary verse. And again, we'll add other stuff in. There will be plenty of cross references. That's one of the nice things about preaching topically too. People kind of expect you to run around. So James 4:13-17. Perfect. Picked up the serpent text in Samuel for Christmas. Looks like it will be interesting. I don't know of that one. What is that? I've never heard of it. Serpent text in Samuel. Never heard of such a thing. Might have to look it up after the stream. I've told you guys this before. I often end up looking books up that Cal Magic mentions during stream after the stream. And then half the time I end up buying them. Cal Magic is always reading something interesting. There's no doubt about that. Man, that's good tea. Yes. All right. So let's go to James 4:13-17. And let's just start to work out a general kind of high level sense of what the text is talking about. Come now, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go into such and such a town and spend a year there and trade and make a profit. Yet you do not know what tomorrow will bring. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little time and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if the Lord wills, we will live and do this or that. As it is, you boast in your arrogance. All such boasting is evil. Whoever knows the right thing to do and fails to do it, for him it is sin. Oh, Rosby says no. The season between Christmas and New Year's. LOL, that's so funny. So you meant Epiphany. Epiphany. And I think, here's my guess, because I don't know either. But here's my guess of how it's spelt. Okay? That's my guess. Let's look it up. Rosby, that's awesome. Oh, so funny. Oh, I didn't mean to search. I meant to do Factbook. Factbook will tell us. Epiphany. From a Greek word meaning manifestation, the term originally marked a feast to celebrate the baptism of Christ. From the 4th century, however, Epiphany has been linked with Christ's manifestation of himself to the Magi, the first Gentiles who believed in him. Oh, that's cool. That's funny. Tin Man, I discovered the option of sending hyperlinks to second copy of the Bible using B Anchor. Did you know about this option? Yes, I did. So you can hit duplicate here, and you can go send hyperlinks here. And it gets this target on it. And then every time you click a verse, it will change that one, right? So if I'm here in James, but I want to go check Exodus out, boom, it swaps over to my Bible that has the send hyperlinks here activated, and then I can go back and forth. So yeah, pretty handy. It's a pretty handy one, especially if you're trying to read the hyperlinks in a certain translation and it's not your top translation, because the way the standard one works is it will always just default to your preferred translation. But you may be doing some research. So let's say I'm using the ESV here, but I'm doing some research with, I don't know, the Legacy Bible. And I want to see what it reads on each of them. I can throw send hyperlinks here, and that will override the impulse for it to put it in my ESV. I can click and it'll shoot it over to the LSB. So that's pretty handy. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Nice feature. Nice feature. Lion, neat function so you don't get lost. Very cool. Yes, indeed. Yes, it's a good one. It's a good one. All right, Cal Magic says, ties Nachad, Goliath to the serpent in Genesis and how the language is used by the New Testament, especially Paul and John in Revelation. That's very interesting, Cal Magic. I think I remember Heiser talking about this briefly, because this is not the first time I'm hearing of the concept. So that's really, really interesting, Cal Magic. Yeah, reading an entire monograph on it sounds very cool. Very, very cool. Thanks for sharing. All right. Good to go. Caught up. All right. So, a few things I want to head off. A lot of people apply this overly literally, and I even do it too. How many times it's a Christian thing because of this verse? How many times have you talking with somebody and they say, they're telling you their plans. Oh, we're going to do this. Oh, we're going to do that. And they always add Lord willing to it. Lord willing. Lord willing. It's an explicit application of verse 15. Instead, you ought to say, if the Lord wills, we will do this or that. But I don't know that an overly literalistic application is necessarily the heartbeat of this admonition, right? So it's a good one. Don't get me wrong. I say that myself, and I know many Christians who do. So it's not there's nothing wrong with it. And it's a straightforward literal application of this passage, but there's more to it than that. So that's a good one. And the more to it is in our hearts, knowing that all of our plans are subject to God and his sovereignty. Something like that. And there's a verse now that I'm thinking of that says something like, man plans his steps, but the Lord directs his path. Let's look that up. There you go. Proverbs 16:9, the heart of a man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. That's a really good cross-reference right there for the whole Lord willing idea. Good evening, Zafira. How are you? Welcome. Good to see you. All right. Continuing. What else jumps out at me? Come now, you who say today or tomorrow we will go into such and such a town and spend the year and trade and make profit. So another idea related to the new year is saving resolutions for the new year. It reminds me of, I know this is a meme and a trope, and not all Roman Catholics do this, right? But it reminds me of that typical Roman Catholic trope where you go sin 6 days a week and then you do all your penance on Sunday. And that's it's similar to what saving up your resolutions for the new year. It's similar to that. You know what I mean? That, I got the rest of the year to not live righteously or properly or purposefully. And then next year I'll really get after it, right? And again, that's not only a Roman Catholic thing. Protestants do that too as well. Can you guys hear my keyboard while I'm typing? I am actually using a different keyboard than what I've previously been using. I've been using a Cherry MX Brown Switch keyboard for a while, and I switched to a Cherry MX Red Switch keyboard. Curious what you guys think, how that sounds. To me, it sounds quieter, so that might be better. Don't know, though. Cal Magic says, I don't fall asleep thinking I'll wake up, Lord willing. I wake up and thank him for another day. This seems more appropriate the older I get. There's good wisdom there. I'm going to grab that quote. Zafira, yes, you can hear the types, but I like keyboard clicks. Okay, cool. As long as it's not detracting from the viewing experience, then great. All right. Come now, you who say today or tomorrow, etc. You do not know what tomorrow will bring. What is your life? For you are a mist that appears for a little time and then vanishes. So the other subtext here, and this is verse 14 and verse 17, is do the right thing now, today, every day. And this reminds me of another verse where Paul says, one man regards one day more important than another. Another man regards every day alike. Let each man be convinced in his own mind. Yep. Romans 14:5. One person esteems one day as better than another, while another esteems all days alike. Each one should be fully convinced in his own mind. And I know he says each should be fully convinced in his own mind, but James's point here in verse 3 is that we should lean in the direction of all days are alike. We don't have a special or particular day to do right, to do good. We do it now. That's kind of the idea there. So good cross references here. Cal Magic says, tie James 4 passage to Paul's advice to be not of this world and put your treasures in heaven. Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, so you are of this world, I am not of this world. Jesus said that. Clearly Cal Magic is paraphrasing here, so I got to figure out which one. Do you know which passage you're referencing, Cal Magic? Roscoe, hello. Roscoe says, been a long time since I tuned in. How is everyone? Yes, very nice to see you, Roscoe. I'm doing really well. Things have been good. Busy, obviously. Had some family in town, but I think we're doing New Year's, quiet New Year's ourselves, so pretty cool there. And yeah, it's really good to see you, Roscoe. Thanks for swinging by. I appreciate you. How are your holidays? All right, let's see. So we were looking for this specific verse. And yeah, all the passages that come to mind when I think about treasures on earth, treasures in heaven, etc. I think of Jesus, not Paul. So let's be broad. Let's just search treasures and look. Yeah, I'm not sure which verse you're referring to, Cal Magic. So we're well on our path. I have 3 main ideas already, just kind of off the top of my head in the text. The concept of saving resolutions. The idea that there's something special about each day. Really, this is each day is special. I want to change my passage. I want to preach on this. One person esteems one day as better than another, while another esteems all days alike. Each one should be fully convinced in his own mind. I want to preach on this instead, because this idea and this idea are both wrapped up in that verse. That's interesting. Oh, so I was on the right track. Cal Magic says, Matthew 6:19, messed up my thinking it was Paul. It really is Jesus. Okay, I got you. Cool. Yeah, and that's a good passage. Yeah, I think I want to preach this. I'm just thinking of how it will flow to preach Romans 14:5 itself. And I think it could actually come out really nice, because I could just have 2 main points and talk about like the advantages and disadvantages of each. There's an advantage to esteeming one day as better than another. This is what all our times and seasons are built off of. This is what our birthdays and holidays are built off of. But there's a disadvantage to it as well. And that is that oftentimes you won't be as deliberate or purposeful with your life because you act as though it's not the right time or season. But the other biblical idea is that all days are alike. And that's also true. And the whole idea is we should embrace both at once. When you esteem every day alike, though, it's hard to have the rhythms that make life special and build relationships, etc. And the whole reason to preach this on January 1st is to talk about how this concept works in relation to the new year, because I'll be preaching it on the new year. Yeah, I really like this. I really like this. I like the direction we're going. Tin Man, it's my experience that investing in heaven allows for opportunities to work in the spirit in the here and now. Hope this is useful. Yes, Tin Man, that's a great thought. Exactly right. I'll tell you guys, when I stream multiple times throughout the week, I often end up with so many good quotes from you guys and just pepper them throughout my sermon. Try to give attribution. I try to say somebody this week said or whatever, but it's really cool. It's super helpful. Yeah, thanks, Tin Man. Cal Magic, isn't there something in the scriptures, maybe drawn from several verses, that talks about not worrying about the past or the future? Yeah, Jesus taught this in Matthew also. It might be in Matthew 6 itself. No, I think my gut says it's in Matthew 4. No, I don't think so. It's Jesus, he's teaching on the sparrows. It's a good passage. Matthew 10. Matthew 10. I went the wrong direction from the Sermon on the Mount. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny, and not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father. But even the hairs of your head are all numbered. Fear not, therefore, you are of more value than many sparrows. So everyone who acknowledges me before men, I will acknowledge them before my Father who is in heaven. But whoever denies me before men, I will deny them before my Father who is in heaven. And I skipped a piece. Might just be birds. I think I can look up tulips or flowers, because he talks about flowers of the field and they're thrown into the fire. He explicitly says, do not worry, so I don't know why I'm making it complicated on myself. There it is. It's Matthew 6:31. So yeah, it's very close. There's the grass of the field. Here it all is. Look at the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than they? And which of you, by being anxious, can add a single hour to his span of life? And why are you anxious about clothing? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon in all of his glory was not arrayed like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which today is alive and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, will he not much more clothe you, O you of little faith? Therefore, do not be anxious, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? The Gentiles seek after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them all. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these will be added to you. Therefore, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. Yeah, really powerful. Matthew 6:25 to 34. I knew we'd find it somewhere. Hey man, what's up, Angie Jags? How are you? I was just thinking about you. Hope you're doing well. It's good to see you. You having a good holidays? We found it. We found it. Cavell, maybe even hit on the fact. Oh, come on, Angie.
In your hands. Your life is in the hands of God.
Angie Jaggies 88 just resubbed for 30 months.
Yes.
Thanks to it, Tinkerteen1 for my sub gift.
That's awesome. Fantastic. Yes, good Christmas. Blessed indeed. That's fantastic, Angie. Really, really cool. 30-month sub. Guys, I can't believe we've almost been doing this 3 years. 6 months away from 3 years. We're 2.5 years. That's wild. Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much for all the love and support, Angie. You're awesome. Okay. Yeah, I pretty much have this all covered. Hot fire. Yes. Yes. Cavell says, maybe even hit on the fact that Thanksgiving is a big point in Romans 14. People usually are so motivated to change at the beginning of the year because they are discontent and not thankful. Ooh. That's a good point. Discontentedness often a driver. Yeah, that's a really good point, Cavell. All right. We're developing a very, very nice sermon. I'm going to switch. I'm going to preach on Romans 14:5. And I'm going to preach two main points. Head over to Canvas. Cool. I'm going to preach two main points on Romans 14:5. And I'm just going to take Paul's idea and split it into two. First, one day is better than another. That's the first main point. And the second main point is going to be all days are alike. Boom. That's what we're going to focus on. Now, if I get some arrows, I just need the yellow arrow. Oh, I've already got the yellow arrow. And then I just need blue and red. Two main points. Boom. We got it, guys. This is it. This is the sermon. Probably want to say something about New Year's resolutions. I was actually talking with a coworker. And they explicitly asked me if I do New Year's resolutions. And so it's a thing, right? People aren't sure how to feel about New Year's resolutions. They're struggling with the concept of them. And I think this verse, Romans 14:5, perfectly answers the balance that we're supposed to have when it comes to New Year's resolutions. Cal Magic, you have a lot of coworkers attend your church. Probably about 1/3 of them. Probably about 1/3 of them. Yeah, good question. My employer is one of the major employers in the area. So about a third of those who attend my church are also employed by the same employer. All right, so we've got our new beginnings and just a rough outline. Because one day is better than another, and all days are alike, we should make resolutions or not, and keep them or not. It's a goofy proposition. It's not quite what I want to say, but it's something along those lines. Cal Magic, point 3 of your sermon: eat, drink, and be merry in moderation. There's actually a lot of truth to that. There's a lot of truth to that. Let's put it for now. I'm going to call it something like resolving the tension. I keep doing that. I told you I was using a new keyboard. Well, the keys are distributed in a way that I'm not used to. So I keep accidentally hitting other buttons. Here we go. And the reason I called it resolving the tension is you're as far as I'm concerned, you're supposed to do both at the same time. Angie, I love to see it. Let's get more tea. See, I don't think Paul gives this admonition because it doesn't matter or is not important. I actually think he gives this admonition because both are true, and it's hard for people to hold them in the ideas in tension. So I'm actually going to put that down somewhere. It's not that it doesn't matter, and so Paul doesn't want us to argue about it. It is rather that both are true, but it is extremely difficult for a fallen human being to hold them both in tension. That's kind of my take. And then another idea I had is that everybody falls on one end of the spectrum with this issue. I don't know if you've ever heard of a stereotypical couple where one of the partners consistently forgets birthdays, Valentine's days, anniversaries, etc. And the other partner never forgets it and then holds a grudge because their partner keeps forgetting. And what's really going on is this. One partner believes one day is better than another, and another partner believes all days are alike. So two partners constantly one constantly forgets birthdays, Valentine's, birthdays. I'll just put birthdays, holidays, and anniversaries. Cool. Because this kind of gets at the heart of what I want to preach about, you know. Have you read any of the books in the New Studies in Biblical Theology series? I've not read a single one cover to cover. I've referenced multiple of them for papers and things like that. Just read chapters or sections. And then Jess started to read one cover to cover in a study that a pastor was putting on that was a friend of ours in the previous town in which we lived. So she actually had that in hard copy. I have them all in Logos, of course. And yeah, they're good ones. Rediscovered it yesterday, really enjoying it. Great series. Great series. The problem is and this is a good problem to have, but the problem is the series is so large at this point. It's hard to keep up. It's hard to keep up with how many volumes that are in there. But that is definitely one of those series that I would also want to read every volume in. Just like I talk about the Counterpoint series and the Views series. Those are all series that I would love to just read all the books of them. The New Studies in Biblical Theology series are also books where I would like to do the same. Yep, those leaves are almost done. I've gotten every ounce of flavor out of them, though. They're good. Alrighty. So I don't want to reveal this yet, so I'm not going to preach deductively. I'm going to preach inductively. And I haven't written an inductive sermon in a while. Let's go refresh our memories. An inductive sermon, you lead with a question that you're trying to answer. How can we live in harmony when basically, how can we obey this command? That's what I'm getting at. Because Paul says explicitly, one person's convinced of one thing, one person's convinced of another, let each one be convinced in their own mind. But that's not really what I'm getting at here. If I get to the end of the sermon and I answer this question, it's something like, you can live in the harmony when you embrace the tension. But is that really what I want to preach on? I want to preach on something more like, maybe it is. Maybe that's all right. Because I want to preach on something, I want the conclusion of the sermon to be something like, so make resolutions, but also don't make resolutions. Don't put too much emphasis on them, if you will, right? Don't beat yourself up if you fail them. You need to navigate the tension of celebrate holidays, but don't take them too seriously. You know, like that. That's basically what I'm going to end up getting at with all of it. So if that's where I want to go, then one step below that, the principle underneath that is embrace the tension. Then the question that leads to that principle is, how can we live in harmony? Yeah, I think this works. How can we live in harmony when how can we live in harmony and fulfill this command when we have such strong differences of opinion? This is shaping up to be a very interesting New Year's sermon. Rosby says, do you read hard copy or digital? Whatever I can get my hands on. So I have 4 ways I consume books. The first is through Audible. And Audible, just having the book read to me from a reader. And I also use the Logos read aloud function to get the robot to read me books as well. And that's the first one. I do that when I'm on my commute, driving to and from work, or participating in some sort of brainless task like snow blowing, etc. So that's the first way. The most common way I consume books is through Audible or Logos's read aloud function. The second most common way I read books is through Logos digitally, visually reading it. But often when I'm visually reading it, in order to keep my pace up, I will also have it digitally read aloud to me. So I'll visually read it while it's being digitally read aloud to me, and then I can make my highlights as I go. That's how I consume most of my textbooks for school, because I want to be taking notes and actively engaging with the text visually while I'm reading it as well. So that's typically how I do that one. I also utilize Kindle, and Kindle, I haven't figured out an easy way to do a read aloud function on it. So Kindle is, I sit down with usually my Kindle Fire or something like that, and I'll just sit there, usually in the evenings when I want to unwind, and I pick a book off of my Kindle library and I just flip through it. And then the final one is in print form, and it's the one I use least. I'm happy to read print, and in fact, I'd prefer to read it in print. In terms of just slow down, tactile experience, enjoy, I prefer print. However, that's not why I'm usually reading. I'm usually reading to consume information so that I can either be improved in terms of my sermon writing ability or understanding, or research for a book, or writing a paper, or putting together a sermon, etc. And so because I'm typically consuming material not for enjoyment or pleasure, but for other reasons, I default to print reading absolutely last. So that, and it's in that order. Audible, read aloud function in Logos, read aloud function in Logos combined with visually reading it and taking highlights as I go, Kindle, and finally print. That's my order. Yeah, really good question, Rosby. Really good question. Let's see. Cal Magic says there are 53 volumes in the series thus far. Yeah, it's loaded. Chock full. I have 2 or 3 on pre-order that are in production at this point. Yeah, very nice. They're good series. Really good series. Ruination. Whoa, I was just researching deductive versus inductive last night. I was trying to find out why my hermeneutics textbook was called inductive Bible study and not deductive Bible study. Hadn't really ever considered the different terms. Oh, that's pretty funny. Yeah. You can preach inductively or deductively. Deductive preaching involves telling people ahead of time what your whole proposition is and then logicking your way towards it as you work through the text. Most sermons done in a traditional expository manner are deductive. But there's also inductive preaching. And inductive preaching is when you actually ask a question and you try to use questions to kind of weave your way towards the solution you want people to discover. So, yeah, that's pretty cool, Ruination. Ooh, that's a good idea. Cal Magic says, what about holidays being part of our tradition? Holidays serve as a basis of our tradition, which causes us to live in harmony. Absolutely. And that's a one day is better than another approach to the reality of it, right? And again, I just think both are true at the same time. Rosby, read aloud function is in 10. I have 9. Yes. Now, if you have 9, you can read aloud on desktop. Okay? You just scroll down here to read aloud and click it. So that option's available right here in desktop. However, I utilize it in the digital form because I like being able to navigate myself manually through the text while I'm hearing it read to me. And so if I use mobile, I bring up the mobile app, I pull up a book, and I tell it to read aloud to me. And then I can listen on my earbuds as I take notes. So, and that one is only in Logos 10. Hey, Jess, good to see you. Welcome. Wow, Jess has some great ideas. Jess says some random ideas. We attach so much of our identity and maturity to the behaviors we want to exhibit. Resolutions can perpetuate our dualistic tendencies, all or nothing. Would be interesting to have an illustration of the 10 most popular resolutions and what they reveal about our common attachments. That's a no-brainer. Yeah, that'll be really engaging. Love it. Thank you, Jess. Appreciate that. What's up, Buckets? Good to see you. Welcome. Yeah, I don't have that function. Let me just tell you. 4,711. Oh, were you going for yourself? You were probably trying to see how long you've been following me. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we have that one set up. Sorry, Buckets. And I see your name's FPS. You probably followed me during my TikTok era when I was playing Valorant. So that's probably when you followed me, Buckets. I don't do that anymore. So if you watch Twitch for FPS content, you probably want to unfollow me. Appreciate you, though. Thank you. Hopefully that was helpful. All right. Let's go. Let's see. I've got all this here. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's go. I just want to show you guys some of the ideas out of the inductive Bible study as well. So let's go over here. And I learned about inductive Bible study from Preaching to be Heard, delivering sermons that command attention. The inductive structure. The inductive structure lends itself most naturally to preaching with tension, and he says preaching with tension is a good thing because you capture audience interest. Precisely because it begins with a question and works towards the answer in the end. The inductive approach does not begin with the full thesis. With the inductive pattern, the listener does not get the full big idea until the end of the sermon, which is good, which is part of why I wanted to go inductive, because my answer is going to be we need to keep both of these in tension, right? The preacher begins with a question and during the course of the sermon gradually moves the listener towards the answer. My question is, how can we live in harmony and fulfill this command when we have such strong differences of opinion? The primary advantage of the inductive sermon is that it most naturally sets up tension for the listeners. As Donald Sunukyan says, it more easily sustains the tension or suspense to the end of the message. The listener has to keep on listening since the answer or the take-home truth is still ahead. For most preachers, generating and sustaining tension will be easiest in the inductive structure. And I want to say, at some point, he essentially says, if you can do induct, the answer is going to be embrace the fact that your opinion is correct, but merely a half truth. Something like that. And that'll point us in the right direction, right? Cool. Well, I mean, we're ready to go. We've got our 2 main points, followed by our third, which is just going to be the synthesis. Tin Man. Wow, this is in deep. I thought tension was a bad thing. Yeah, and let me describe what I mean by this. This is foundational to my thought overall. Like, I believe in tension as a philosophical idea. Oh, those are good stats. I'm going to grab those from you, Cal Magic. Okay, I got those stats. Let me talk about this, because to me, this is an important concept. Very important, actually, Tin Man, to just kind of understanding my thought in general, okay? I think of tension as 2 forces that on the surface appear like they are working against each other, but instead work for each other. A common biblical example would be law and gospel, or grace and works, these sorts of things. These are things that, in a sense, pull on each other, if you will. To have them in their proper context, they need to have the other thing to pull against them. Otherwise, they'll fly off into space. Think of the way an arm works, okay? You have both a bicep and a tricep. Your bicep allows you to retract and pull towards yourself. Your tricep allows you to push. Now, if these 2 muscles are in tension, okay? If I got rid of your bicep, you couldn't pull, and your tricep would be also useless. You see what I mean? Your tricep would be no good because you don't have a bicep. This is called opponent processing. It's actually very, very important in human beings and in nature in general. Opponent processes are 2 systems that look like they're working against each other, but in fact, they work together by the fact that they work against each other. So I take the idea of opponent processes and I apply it to thoughts as well. I apply it to philosophy, to epistemology. What do we know? How do we know it? Etc. We need opponent processes that work against each other to arrive at truth. Otherwise, one aspect will careen off all by itself. So this is the principle I'm working from. And I believe there are many biblical... Anytime... I might be overstating this a little bit, but it's close to what I want to say. Anytime you find a massive debate over an issue within the Bible, you typically have 2 groups that are lining up on opposite sides of the equation and don't realize that they're in an opponent process relationship. So our bicep and tricep example is good. Let's go to the issue of Calvinism versus Arminianism. Calvinism's like the bicep, and Arminianism's like the tricep. And people get on either side of the equation, and they say, I'm for team bicep. And the other people say, I'm for team tricep. And the real answer is you need to hold both in tension. And it's simplistic to reduce it to Calvinism versus Arminianism, because I tend to think it's more a question of God's sovereignty versus human responsibility. But that is an opponent process type relationship, and you need to hold them in tension. So I believe both that God is 100% sovereign, and I believe human beings are held responsible for their actions. We hold both these things in tension, it's resolved, no problems. And you can do this with a jillion different biblical... I'm going to write a book on this eventually, Lord willing, don't know. But the idea is that Jesus Christ is the resolution of all tensions, okay? How does he resolve tensions? He doesn't delete them. He maintains both at once. How or why? Because Jesus is 100% man and he's 100% God. And the way the creed's formulated is so helpful because his natures are not commingled nor co-mixed. He's not partially God or partially man either. He is 100% man, 100% God, one person in tension. You know what I mean? His whole nature is a nature of tension. And almost all of the deepest truths in the Bible follow this pattern as far as I'm concerned. And here's one that's not nearly as deep a truth. In fact, some might even consider it to be a trivial truth, but it follows this exact same pattern no less. Watch. Some people say one day is better than another. They celebrate all the holidays. They celebrate all the anniversaries. They focus on all that type of stuff. They're constantly focused on the fact that one day is better than another. Okay? Another group of people says all days are alike. Okay? There's nothing special about Sunday. There's nothing special about Christmas. There's nothing special about birthdays. Every day is the same, and we should live every day the same, doing the right thing all the time, not exalting one day over another. Paul says, let each man be convinced in his own mind. And my take is the reason he says that is because both of these are actually true. But it's really hard for dualistic people to hold two things that seem to be in opposition to one another to be true at the same time. They are both true. One day is better than another. Okay? And I want you to know, my natural disposition is to say all days are alike. That's my natural disposition. I don't care. I don't care about the holiday. I don't care about the birthday. I don't care about any of that stuff. It doesn't matter to me. Not one iota. I could care less. Okay? That's my natural disposition. There is some truth in that. All right? So, for example, when it comes to holiness or righteousness, when it comes to sanctification, I should be living every day like it is a day that I should be all out for Jesus, right? That's somebody who esteems all days alike. That can be very helpful. But it's also true. It also happens to be true that one day is better than another. And so we do right to focus our attention on holidays, special days, seasons, festivals, etc. Because that also happens to be true. Both are true at the same time. So, when you can get to the point where you can say this, Christmas doesn't matter, and I love Christmas. It matters so much to me. It's my favorite time of the year. You are not far from the kingdom of heaven. You see what I mean? That is where you need to get. You need to be able to say this is true and this is true both at the same time. You need to say, my birthday doesn't matter and I don't care. And if nobody celebrates my birthday, I would genuinely be content. And yet at the same time, you say, man, the fact that people want to celebrate my birthday and celebrate me, etc., brings me so much joy, and I appreciate that so much. God bless you. When you can do that, you're very, very close. You're very, very close. This is hard for human beings, okay? Politics, and the examples we see out in the world don't do this, okay? The examples we see around us, especially on the internet, the exact opposite of what I'm talking about here. So, you know, you look at politics, all right? It's dualistic. It's dualistic. Red versus blue, right? Same concept. When you look at, I mean, you can pick any countless thing. So many of the church denominations and people lining up and fighting, tribalism, etc. It all boils down to this. Human beings struggle to hold two apparently contradictory ideas in tension. Cal Magic says tension gets easier as you get older and more mature in your belief. Yes, agreed. And one helpful tool on this is one of my professors. He's one of the toughest professors at my school, Dr. James Anderson. I've referenced this book many times. It's very helpful when it comes to this topic, guys. Paradox in Christian Theology, an analysis of its presence, character, and epistemic status. This is not easy reading. It's heavy philosophy. But if you can grasp it, this is such an important concept. And it's about just what I'm talking about here. Holding concepts in tension. All right, trying to catch up. I know I went on a bit of a rant there. Ruination says, interesting, inductive preaching, going to snag that book. Yes, preaching to be heard. Preaching to be heard. I haven't read the full thing, but what I have read revolutionized my preaching. I added inductive preaching to my repertoire because of this book. Didn't have it before. Now I utilize it. Not all the time, but it's just another tool in my tool belt. Ooh, Cal Magic, another list of resolutions. And Cal Magic says, notice not one of them is related to God. That's very interesting. Just putting that over on my canvas. Tin Man Pro, I'm seeing it. Use it to keep a fine line of truth. That's correct. Cal Magic, tell them about the book Paradox. Cal Magic told me to tell you guys about this book 5 minutes ago. I'm sorry. Yeah, fantastic book. It's super helpful when it comes to this issue. Let's see. Zafira, I needed this stream today more than you realized. Also, every day is a special and a day to praise God, one made by his hands. Amen to that, Zafira. Fantastic. Well, praise God. I'm glad this was super helpful to you. Thank you for all your encouragement, Zafira. Tin Man makes sense. Thank you. Yes, my pleasure. It's a very, very important concept. I got the idea. I didn't get the idea, but I started to develop the idea more and more as I read through Ian McGilchrist, The Master and His Emissary. That's a completely different book, but he talks about hemispheric lateralization in the brain. And I think holding ideas in tension follows a similar pattern as the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere in the brain. All right. Well, where are we at here? I hate to say it, but we might be at a good stopping point. Yeah, I'm looking over here at my canvas. We got lots of good ideas. Now I would be embarking on fleshing them out. But I don't want to do that yet. I don't want to start something that I won't be able to see through this evening. So this is a good stopping point for me. Did over an hour. Little shorter stream, I know. Little shorter stream, I know. But look for another one sometime this week, for sure. It's something I plan on doing. No, I copied and pasted all those stats, Jess. Thank you. Let's see. Cal Magic says, playing devil's advocate, no day is different, yet God set aside day 7 as the Sabbath. I know somebody in your congregation will bring it up. Exactly right. And that's the half-truth. It's true. Again, I want you to know that is true. But I would say that, and this is my personal stance on the Sabbath, according to the book of Hebrews, that in the spiritual realm, that the Sabbath day, every day is a Sabbath rest, right? And I've preached that before. And I think Jesus pushes us in that direction. Now, whether or not we're supposed to celebrate it in that manner, then today or not, don't know, right? Ooh, know thy enemy section. What do you mean for that, Jess? Do you mean the stats? You mean the stats for the know thy enemy? I haven't done a know thy enemy in a while. But this is a perfect sermon for the know thy enemy. You meant what Cal Magic said. Oh, I got you. Yep. Perfect. Cool. Hope that book is in Logos. Yes, it is, Tin Man. The Paradox in Christian Theology book is in Logos. It's a good one. All right, guys. I appreciate you all very much. This was a fun stream. I know a little bit shorter, but it's around the holidays, and I know people are still busy and all that type of stuff. Look for another stream at some point this week. I don't know when. I may do one tomorrow, maybe Thursday, probably not Friday, but sometime in the next couple days, I'm going to stream again, okay? So that's the goal. We'll see how that works. Yeah. You'll get it? Okay, cool, Tin Man. I want you to know it's a little bit philosophical and heavy, but it's a good one. It's a good one overall. So, yeah, I really enjoyed the stream this evening, guys. Had a lot of fun, and we'll make some further progress on this sermon over the rest of the week. So, like I said, check out either tomorrow night or the night after that. Good to see you, Angie. Appreciate you.
This is the biggest room
goodness gracious.
of freaked out snowflakes you've ever seen in your life.
Come on.
Cal Magic Guy cheered. X1000.
Awesome. Hey, thank you, Cal Magic. 1,000 bits. That's super hype to end the stream. I appreciate you so much. God bless all of you. Have a great week, okay? And maybe I'll catch up with you guys sometime, like I said, either tomorrow night or Thursday night, perhaps. Lord willing. We'll see how that goes. All right. Have a great one, guys. Take care. God bless. Bye.